So I've got a pinch bowl I'm working on here. I just pinched it a moment ago, so it's nice and soft. It hasn't been sitting out for a while. I can use my rib, this is my smooth rib, on the inside to shape it. But I want this to be a little bit taller. I was thinking of making a pumpkin for upcoming holidays and things like that. So pinch methods, we've started with a solid ball, but you can use pinch methods to patch too. So I showed you how to do this in a previous video when you had a broken part, but you can also build up the wall using pinch methods. And pinching is kind of fun, I think, because you're not there's sort of not a lot of tools involved, and you can kind of make the rules up as you go. So you can see that I've added these two just kind of chunks of clay on top, and I've made sure to smooth them. If you look inside, if you get at the right angle, you can see there's a seam, and for strength I can smooth that, but if I'm going to keep this as a closed form, no one's going to see that later on. As long as things are strong, and you can check by, tugging on them a little bit, you see that that part was a little bit thin, it pulled apart, so I've just folded it over. But you can also, if you've got kind of if you've ended up with a funny shape, so I've got this funny shape here, so I'm just going to make a patch that is essentially that shape, and I can add it onto there. You can also, if you're pinching like this, you can add a shape that changes the direction of the piece. So let's say I want to have this come out, right? I can pinch that part out here, pinch this part over here, and as long as you've got wet enough clay that it's sticking together, you can start to build it out out into different shapes. Now I don't want to do that, so I'm gonna pull that one off and I'm gonna redo this because I want to make kind of a sphere shape to start with. Like I said, I'm gonna make a pumpkin, and I thought it would be just kind of fun to see it turn into something that I was intending from the beginning, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sphere, the balloon, the ball shape built. And you saw me build a ball shape from two bowls of clay put together, but you can also close up a form this way. And no particular reason you have to do one or the other. Some of it is preference, some of it is what you have planned or whatever. I'm going to use my paddle again on the outside, and I know I didn't give you all a paddle, so if you have one, that's great. If you have a spoon, that would be great to use, but you can also use this. This is this wooden rib, and you can use that as a paddle as well. Now the more you practice, the more you get a sense of how much pressure this can take, right? Because if I really wail on it, I can get it to flatten out, and I don't particularly want to do that. I did adjust the shape at the top a bit, though, because I'm eventually going to want to close this up. So I have a fairly small opening here. I'm actually going to make it a little bit more round with a little patch, and then I'm simply going to plug it. So I can just layer a patch over. Or one of the things I sometimes do is I leave, I kind of make what would you call that? A little indented, a part that sticks out, and that's going to fit inside, and then I'm going to smooth it over the top. That just allows me, if I get in the inside to work on it, if I end up opening this up with a lid, I have a little bit more clay to work with in that one spot. So I'm going to continue. So you see that I showed you could use this rib, and then I switched to the paddle. A spoon is really nice because you've got a handle and it just gives you a more comfortable grip. So if you've got a wooden spoon, great, but if you don't, the other one is totally fine. I am using this paddle. Sorry, it's a little bit noisy. I'm using this paddle to get my pumpkin into a basically round shape, but I'm going to use a couple of techniques to get the shape just where I want it to be. I can do a little, shaping that way so that it's a little taller. I also love this rib, the smooth metal rib, and so I can shape it that way. You can also use your, your serrated rib to shape, but watch what happens when you use that one. If you've got big changes you want to make, this one can be, didn't clean it, this one can be good because it kind of scrapes away some of the clay, but it's going to leave you a texture. And if you, I mean, you could keep that texture, that could be part of the plan, or you could get in afterwards with a metal rib, with the smooth rib, they're both metal, and smooth that. If you have one of those mud ribs, you can use that as well. Or if you've made yourself a plastic rib, that works as well too. So I've got a fairly roundish kind of shape here, yeah? But it's not looking very pumpkin-y yet. So I'm going to use this rib, and I'm going to get in and try to give it some of those kind of indents that a pumpkin has. And you could count, you could plan this carefully and measure. I'm just kind of winging it. You can see I didn't get it completely smooth. If I were not recording a video and conscious of your time, I would probably go to the trouble of smoothing every little bit of it. But I want to show you fairly quickly. Now you're starting to get a sense of that rounded shape that a pumpkin might have, right? And then I'm probably going to put a little stem on the top of this guy. So my recommendation, if we've been skipping scoring and slipping because I have been smoothing everything in. But if I want to make a little pumpkin stem, I might want to have it sort of look like it's attached on top. And so I don't want to smooth that in. So I'm going to score here, and I'm going to score here, and I'm going to add a little bit of slip there. But before I get there, I'm actually not quite ready. I'm going to grab some different tools, and you can play around with what tools that work. But you can create a sense of those kind of, the texture that a stem might have, or a stylized version of that texture. And now this stem looks a little different than the smooth body of the pumpkin, right? Now, another thing you could do, if you happen to have a pumpkin stem handy, is you could press it into the clay. I don't have one, but I have this interesting piece of bark that I picked up when I went for a walk yesterday when the sun finally came out. And it's not I don't know if it's exactly a pumpkin stem texture, but it is a different texture than what I have on the rest of the pumpkin. So when I go to add this in, I should be using slip that's the right clay, but I didn't get any ready. I ran out of my white clay because I don't use it as much as at home. So I'm just kind of messing with making this stem texture look a little different. And now I've got sort of a pumpkin here. Now I can continue messing with it a little bit, but you don't need to watch all of that. I am going to show you in a different video, or maybe I already have, how to cut open this lid, but this one is not dry enough yet, so I don't want to cut this lid apart. If I do try to cut a lid off to make this a lidded pumpkin, it's going to be a mess. So I'm going to set that one aside. I'm going to leave it out for maybe 20 minutes, and when I'm done after 20 minutes, I'll be able to come back and I'll be able to work with it some more.